Hey everybody, in this video I'm going to show you how you can apply some advanced conditional formatting rules to your data. So here I've got smoking rates by country from 2007 to 2018, percent of adults who smoke by country and by region. And so one of the things you can do with basic conditional formatting is if I select all this data, I can use data bars to quickly highlight, okay, where the large and the small values are. But the thing is, with conditional formatting, it can get really messy and not easy to identify. Let's say you wanted to highlight regions where the value in 2018 is a lot higher than 2007, or vice versa. So I'm going to show you how you can do that using a formula in conditional formatting. So if I go back to conditional formatting and create a new rule, it's important to select your data set here, and especially important is this range here. So the first cell that I've selected is B2, and that's going to be important because that's my anchor, especially when I'm using a formula. So to do a formula, I want to apply the formula to all of these values. And what you're doing with a formula is think of it as you're trying to create an if statement. And if it evaluates the true, then it's going to highlight that cell. So for example, let's say I want to highlight the parts of the world where the smoking rate has been higher in 2018 than it was in 2007. So what I'm going to do here is use the equal sign to start my formula, and I'm going to use $G to lock in column G, and let's say I'm going to use 2 because, again, I'm starting in row 2, and I'm going to say, okay, if this is greater than the value in B2. And the important part here is I'm freezing these values because basically the conditional formatting rules are going to apply to every single one of these cells. So whether it's looking at D or E or F, whatever one of these columns, by locking in and freezing these columns, it's only going to be looking at columns G and columns B. It's not going to adjust regardless of what cell it's looking at. So my rule here is saying, okay, if this value is greater than this one, then I'm going to apply some formatting to it. And to make it stand out, I'm going to use a red background with a white font. So it looks like that. It stands out. And so as you can see, it's now highlighted that entire range. So you can see here these countries that have higher rates in 2018 versus 2007. Now I can adjust this if I wanted it to also include column A. Like right now it applies to column B, but I can change this to A, and now you'll see that it extends. And so it makes it really easy to highlight which countries or regions have had higher rates in 2018 versus 2007. Now you can make these formulas as complicated or simple as you want. Like let's say you want to do the reverse. Let's take a look at which countries have had significant declines in their smoking rates. So go back to manage these rules, and I'm just going to change this and say, let's say if a big reduction would be, let's say it's half the percentage that it was in 2007. So what we could do is say, okay, if G2 in this case is going to be less than the value of B2. So that's going to say, okay, this one is smaller than this one, but I also want to say, okay, let's multiply B2 by a factor of 0.5. So that means it's lower than even 50% of this value. And this time I'm going to highlight it as green to say, that's a positive. Okay, apply, and so in that case, I only found one country that had that criteria met, where this percentage, 9.6%, was less than half of the 20.6% in 2007. So by applying these conditional formatting rules, you can be, as specific as you want. It can go a lot more than just highlighting large values or small values, you can apply whatever sort of rules you want. And of course, you can create another rule based on that. But the idea is, like, what you're basically doing is imagining this is an if statement and saying, okay, if this evaluates to true, then it's going to apply this formatting. And as long as you're selecting your starting range, like I said, in my data set, it started from B2 or A2 in this case. So I want to start from row 2. Whatever my formula is has to start from row 2. And the key is making sure that you're freezing these columns and these ranges just to make sure that the data isn't going to move based on what cell it is, because it's going to apply to this entire range that you've selected. So you want to make sure by locking it that it's always going to apply the rules to the correct columns. So that's a quick overview of how to do advanced conditional formatting in Excel using formulas. Obviously, there's a lot more variations that you can do. I just wanted to show you a quick way of how you can use it.